we're so delighted to have you, Sue. And we look at you as somebody that we want to be you when we grow up.
I don't want to grow up.
We want to be like you when we grow up.
Bless you.
And so tell us how your journey began and all the things that you're doing here. Kind of give us a little bit of your background and then what you're doing now and how this journey began.
Okay, so I guess my potted story is I have basically been 50 years ago this year, I went into medical school. And I think that's kind of an achievement. It's like, and then I say half a century and then it seems like, oh my God. But, I've been a physician. In fact, I only have 3 more days left to practice and then my license is done. Wow. So I've been an anesthesiologist for 44 years. And I'm just a regular anesthesiologist, right? You know, and then in 2004, my marriage hit a big boom wall. Spent a few years trying to sort it out, which was stupid in retrospect. I should have just left then. But eventually in 2007, 2005 I left. 2007 we got divorced. So at the age of 60, I'm looking at a new life, right? I was just going to do the simple, physician retire thing. But suddenly, you're on your own. You got to create a new life. And suddenly you're looking after all your own finances, which is happening to a lot of women. So I was in that situation at 60. I'm lucky. Sorry, I've got the end of a cold. I'm lucky that I've been a high earner through my life. But that was 2007. 2008, we had the financial crash. And I had this kind of total moment where I was watching the US Senate actually turn down the Troubled Asset Relief Program. And I knew what was coming, and I knew the big crash would happen the next day. And then I had this kind of welling up from nowhere. And I actually get kind of soppy when I talk about it, where I just saw all the lives that were going to be ruined. The retirements and the young folks too, but young folks have got time to retire. Older folks don't have so much time to retire. So I went to work that morning as a physician, and on the way home, I kind of had this moment where I thought, well, I guess I'm going to create a program to help folks recover from all this hit. So I was an entrepreneur by the time I got home, and I knew nothing about it, but I've been working on it now for 8 years. I've created a program, and I've looked at what seniors who not seniors, upcoming retirees who will not have enough money to live out their life, because our longevity is going up too. What can they do to generate income? I'm not a financial planner. To me, you can't do much with financial planning in low interest rate environment. You're not going to get your 5-10% that you can live off. For me, the only way for most folks is to look at the knowledge and wisdom and skills they have in their brain, to brain dump it in some way or other. And there's many ways to do that. And then there's to turn that into an income making product which benefits others. So that's what I'm doing now. I have a program called Live Your Retirement Dream. And I probably wouldn't call it Retirement Dream anymore, because honestly and truthfully, in that 7 years, retirement has pretty much disappeared. But I will take folks, look at what their knowledge and skills are, create programs, and then market them online. And I have really got into the techie side of the marketing bit, because that's what most folks don't know. And most folks go, oh, I don't want to know. So that's where I will help them with all of these new modern techniques, of which you guys are also familiar with ebook creation, video creation, podcasting and live casting, to get their message out to the world. Because frankly, if you don't use those techniques, you're not going anywhere, and you're going to end up with less money than you even started with. So that's my story.
That's true. Well, when did you start with the technical side of this?
Well, I started off just deciding to make the product I am. And, I have this finger that kind of searches on the web all the time. And I found this person called Pam Hendrickson who was creating products, right? And I went to, well, actually, I heard Mike speak first, but I went to their product creation thing, their first make market launch. And I've been in their programs ever since. But I found I've always been myself the old bitty techie dude. I've always been interested in technology, and I realized how much of a scary place that is to so many folks. So I have switched. I could still do the product creation, but I've switched much more into helping folks through their techie blocks. From setting up a website all the way through to, well, I've just got a partner now, and we're starting something called Frock Off TV quite soon, where we will be running the show. So that's how it started. It was that Koenigs guy, right?
For all of us, for many of us, it was where we all started. Yeah.
You're all into techie stuff too.
Well, what we're finding is that there are a lot of individuals, and unfortunately, Sue Boardman is one of our students here, and she couldn't be here today because she was ill. But I bring her up because in our conversations, the technical side of things is daunting for a lot of people, and I love it. And recognizing that those of us beyond 60 are finding that doesn't need to be an obstacle to moving forward. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
My pleasure, Diane.
This week, my aunt has been here visiting Joanne, and we've encountered, she's just on the finishing stages, the last chapter of her book. She's putting her bio together. She's doing all these really cool things, and what an accomplishment that this has been. So this week we've been getting her website set up. We've got her Facebook and her Pinterest account. We're getting her all these things. We got her cover art done, and I want to show you guys, because really quick, let me see if I have it. Let's see, which one is it? This one. All right, let me get back over to you. I'm going to share the screen for just one moment, and then we'll come right back.
Mm-hmm.
There's the starting of her website.
Oh, love it.
Isn't it cute?
Looks great.
Is great.
I like it.
Yeah, so hers is, Sue has been Joanne has been a school teacher, mostly for kindergarten first graders, and very, very knowledgeable on how, her book is basically about as soon as a parent conceives, that's when the education begins for the child and the things that they can do. So we're working on some products to put together with this. The book is almost done. We're putting all these pieces together and talking about the technological part. That is where the mountain always comes in. And this week, just even sitting together side by side, working on getting these things created, from what's the book cover going to look like? What are your graphics going to look like? All of this, we used a Fiverr guy that created this for us, and we went back and forth. I mean, half of a day just sending back messages. No, we don't like that. Yes, we like this. So these are all the steps that need to be taken, and it can be very daunting, especially if you've never had that kind of experience. So there's been more than once this past week, that I've looked at her, and there's this. What are you thinking about? So it is. It's a huge thing. So I'll stop sharing. So where are you going? Tell us what's happening for you now. I know you've done a lot of travel. Would you share kind of what you did with your travel, and then where you're going now with your partner?
Well, I mean, I can certainly live for a very long time on luckily I can do that, but if I want to do the traveling I want to do, and I don't think I can remember when I didn't have the travel bug. I can remember when I was 8 or 9, younger than that, trying to get my parents to go places that I wanted to go, but they weren't travelers. So I've always been a traveler. I think we live on this exquisite lump of rock that nobody understands really why we're here, and we're spinning around this sun, and heck, I'm going to enjoy every place I can on this planet. So I've still got a few places to go, but I've been to China, India. I know Europe like the back of my hand because you can tell I grew up as a Brit. I've been to Australia. I've been to New Zealand a couple of times. I've got Iceland and Antarctica on my list. South America. Love South America. I've been to Argentina, to Costa Rica, to Peru, and the other one, the one above it. Anyway, I've got the old brain fart, Ecuador. In Ecuador, I would go back to South America in a heartbeat. It's so gorgeous. My son's in-laws live in Mexico. I get down there, I'll go anywhere. I really, really love to travel. And then last year I've been to Africa several times. I've been to Rwanda, Uganda, South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania. So it's just the most beautiful planet. I'll go anywhere I can. But now I have to settle down for a year or so because I really want to get this business going. And I have been unbelievably fortunate in finding someone whom I've home here in Victoria that I wish to partner with. We're both of us imports from Victoria, from the prairies, from Alberta. She's a remarkable woman. She has a story. She basically was in the Canadian Witness Protection Program for 35 years because she had been a key witness to a murder, and the guy got off. And put her in the Witness Protection Program. He probably turned out to be a serial killer. She only came out of this program about 4 or 5 years ago when finally he died. So she now feels free for the first time in her life. And because she had a really tough childhood before that. I mean, Jo's hilarious telling her stories. And in fact, her book, which is called Frock Off, is coming out in the second edition on August the 17th. We're working towards her book launch for that at the moment. And she now just wants people to know that you can live, as she says, a frockalicious life. You can really enjoy your life. And you can feel this sense of freedom in her. It's just a wonderful, she's just great. Well, she actually, while she was in disguise, I think she's had 19 names and several different Canadian passports, because once, they would find her and she'd change her name and change where she moved. But despite all this, she managed to become a very successful businesswoman in Alberta. And so she has the business smarts and she has the speaking smarts and she's doing events, but she needs someone who also can talk, but also has the techie stuff. So we're combining together and moving forward to really try and build Frock Off into a very big, inspirational, motivational, and techie program that basically can take someone from where they are now, if they're depressed or whatever and don't know what to do, right the way through to exactly what you're doing with your aunt. So that's where I am.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We really enjoy each other's company and we work together well. So that's fantastic.
That's a true blessing.
It really is. It's a true, and we've just been on a call for a couple of hours and, we said this is actually a true blessing for both of us. So let's hope it keeps working. But right now it's great.
So what would your advice for Joanne, and for the others that are in our class that are not here today, what would be your advice as far as starting down a path like this from, the concept of writing a book, turning it into the product and all this path that we're all going down? What would be your top advice?
My top advice is probably not the one that you would think of, but in fact, well, maybe you would. My top advice is, first of all, to do an awful lot of reading and thinking about who you are and personal development. I think it's a much, much, much tougher path to travel if you are not truly aware of who you are and what you offer. I actually have some folks come to me for coaching and they're not ready. They're not ready to move down that path. So I think, first of all, that would be my first thing. After that, I think you just need to find someone like you have found, a relationship where you can have someone that just knows the path and can take you through it. And one of the things I pick up from a lot of my clients is they've been haphazard. There's been no system. So they're managing a web developer here who isn't doing what they want. They're managing a social media person here who is kind of sort of doing stuff. They're managing trying to do video over here from someone who is doing a video for them but doesn't really know about video marketing. They end up managing 5 or 6 different people. They got all these balloons bobbing around on a string. There is no plan and there is no system. So I think you need to find someone who has a system who will take you from right from the beginning. What is your USP? What is your discovery? What you want to achieve? What timeline? And then I think the strength of the programs we've been in is, you know, the steps from the first moment you decide to create, even picking a URL. I mean, you have to think keywords and all that kind of stuff from the beginning. And then you have to work through a system right the way through. So you need persistence. You don't give up, but you need someone who knows the whole system. And I find that very few people actually have a system from alpha to omega.
That's how this class that we're doing right now started. It's called the Fast Start to Your Book class. And we're kind of at a grassroots. We know, you know, as I get out and mix in the community, I meet so many people that want to write a book and want to go to start down this path, knowing they need to do something, have clueless where to start. But it looks like this big, huge mountain that they don't know any clue how to get there. But there's such a need, you know. And I think back years ago when the economy changed so badly, my husband and I, we lost our home, we lost everything, just seemed to get turned upside down and got shook out. And for a while, I personally thought that I was the only one that it was experiencing. I didn't realize the full scope of how intense this financial time was. And then when finally I realized that I needed to just grow where I was planted. I needed to be, instead of going off clear across the city, because I didn't want anybody in my own community to know what kind of situation happened with us. I finally decided I needed to be right in my own community and make a difference right here. And once I did that, I was like shocked, because there were so many people in the same predicament. And these are people our age and older that have no clue. What are we going to do? You know, because there's nobody's going to be able to step in and take care. Maybe what the retirement plans are gone. You know, these things are a thing of some distant dream in the past. You know, and we're meeting more and more people that are just realizing that something's got to change. So that's
I just have such an admiration for you. I mean, for what you've done. I mean, I think it's absolutely huge. And you know, because if I hadn't been a physician, I would have been a historian. So I've always looked at things from the past. I knew this was going to happen, which I think maybe is why I got such a blow to the belly that day when I realized how many folks were going to be in your situation. I mean, it's millions. It is millions. If you look at the stats, there's over 80 million people out of the 80 million baby boomers out of the 110 million baby boomers in the English-speaking Western world, you know, UK, US, Canada, Australia. Over 80 million of them know they haven't got enough money to last out their lifespan. Now, I used to be married to a geneticist, and I'm a physician, and I know what's coming down the pipe, and our longevity is going to increase. And in fact, hold on to it, ladies, but I think it's very likely that in our lifetimes, we will be offered the chance to be immortal. And I'm not kidding. Now, if you don't have enough money to last 20, 30 years after the age of 65, how are you going to finance to 120, 130, 140? Because I think it's absolutely on the cards. And I ain't smoking anything, and I'm not eating magic mushrooms. So you have to do something. I mean,
you're just a futurist.
Actually, Diane, I am.
I know.
I've always been a futurist. I've always looked at the past. That's where we were. That's where we are now. And that's where we're going. And I'm deadly serious. And so I don't bring this out that often. I'm bringing it out a bit more now because I think I'm nuts. But now it's actually a reality. And they're actually turning back people's biological clocks. And folks are going to pick it up. Hell, would I take the chance to go back, have a 30-year-old in that vigor? You bet I would. So that's another conundrum that is now coming into this whole thing. So what you are doing is absolutely necessary. It's absolutely necessary, because we have to look after ourselves and generate income to constantly for 50, 60 years. There's none of this, quit at 65 and play golf for 20 years and then snuff it. It's not going to happen. And I really, really admire you for what you're doing. But I think the longevity side is almost more relevant now than the money, because people are going to run out of money before they run out of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're following your footpath. I mean, think about it. It's the same. It's a very similar path.
Yeah.
And the idea is to help people turn their knowledge, expertise, and skills into income streams. And that's very, very important.
Oh,
thank you so much for sharing.
You're absolutely right. And you're doing it the right way. I mean, we know each other. We've been through similar systems.
Mm-hmm.
And you just start at the beginning, don't you? And you plod down that road. And eventually it happens. But I think a lot of folks don't realize how long it'll take them, because I reckon if you're really going to start having an impact and you have someone to guide you, you've got a minimum of 3 to 4 years before you begin to make much of a dent in the world, because so many are realizing it and it's becoming very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want to make a difference, you actually have to go this route. You don't have any alternative, because you ain't going to do it any other way.
That's true.
That's very true. And for those of us that didn't have that initial guidance and just started from back when we all started, it does take 7 or 8 years to kind of pull all of this together and get it, because it's a whole different world than we've all experienced in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a whole different world from when I started out 7 years ago. And when
absolutely.
It is a different world. I wouldn't have called my project Live Your Retirement Dream now, because in the last 4 years, retirement dreams have gone. I'm seriously looking at building a new website with a different name because of that.
If you were going to rename it, what would you name it?
I got a couple of URLs. I've got Knowledge Income. I've got Wisdom Years Income. I still haven't got one that really appeals to me.
Nothing that resonates yet.
Yeah, it really resonates, but I think the whole concept of retirement is going out the window. And I knew it would start, like, I'm leading edge baby boomer, right? I'm 68. The oldest baby boomer is 69. So I have that feeling I'm on the crest of the wave, and I can look at what's coming because of where I am, right? My age.
Mm-hmm.
And, I thought as soon as they start retiring, there's 10,000 a day in the US who pass the age of 65, I know it's going to change, because I know they're suddenly going to realize, oh, holy crap, I don't have the money. And then they're going to start scrambling. And then they're going to realize they haven't got a retirement. And that's exactly what's happening. Unfortunately, a lot of folks have left it. Well, not too late, but it would have been nicer if they'd started 10 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you guys are offering. And I think that's huge, because if they come into you at the right age, then you can take them through, and they'll be better prepared when they get to the stage of 65 or something like that. So kudos to you, because I know that you get folks early and you do it. It's great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We know your time is limited and we don't want to encroach on that.
I'd love to stay, but I have to go and see my accountant about my tax for my company.
You've made all that money. You've been able to do all that fun stuff. Now you got to pay the piper.
Now I got to pay the piper, and I got to go do that this afternoon, because it actually has to be going to Revenue Canada by tomorrow. But listen, I just respect you guys so much, and
we do, and we do
too. Yeah. So thanks, and
thank you for coming and sharing your story. It's a fantastic story, and we absolutely love you. Thank you, and we'll be looking forward. We'll be looking forward to seeing what your new venture brings.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's something that I can really feel will go places, and
yes,
Joe's a really good action taker too. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. We love you tons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye soon.